Hey boys and girls, I have another Jack and Annie book, and this is book number 3 for the Magic Treehouse series called Mummies in the Morning. Now, this book, whenever I read it to the class, the kids think of mummies and they think of, creatures that come out and try to get me like zombies. No, they also think mummies are fake. And mummies are actually real. Mummies are not going to come alive. Mummies are created when someone back a long time ago in Egypt, whenever they died, this is what would happen to them. And instead of burying them in the ground, they might put them in something called a sarcophagus, which is that thing right here. And we'll learn about this as we read the book, but it's kind of like a casket, and they would put the body in there, but before they did that, they would wrap it in cloth. It's just a way to honor that person and take care of it. So mummies are real. Mummies coming out of their sarcophagus and walking around and trying to eat your brains, no, that is not real. That's something that somebody made up. It might be fun for you to think about, it might be scary for you to think about, but that will not happen in this book. So if that makes you nervous and you see this and you think, I don't want to read this book, they're gonna come out and it's going to get Jack and Annie, no, it won't do that. All right, that was a huge introduction to this book, but I think we will get started. So Mummies in the Morning, let's read. Chapter 1, meow. For real, that's what it says. Meow. It's still here, said Jack. It looks empty, said Annie. Jack and his 7-year-old sister gazed up at a very tall oak tree. At the top of the tree was a treehouse. Late morning sunlight lit the woods. It was almost time for lunch. Shh, said Jack. What was that noise? What noise? I heard a noise, said Jack. He looked around. It sounded like someone coughing. If you're hearing a noise right now, that's actually just my washer washing my clothes. I didn't hear anything, said Annie. Come on, let's go up. She grabbed onto the rope ladder and started climbing. Jack tiptoed over to a clump of bushes. He pushed aside a small branch. Hello? Anybody there? There was no answer. Come on, Annie called down. The treehouse looks the same as it did yesterday. Jack still felt that somebody was nearby. Could it be the person who put all the books in the treehouse? Jack! Jack gazed over the top of the bushes. Was the mysterious person watching him now? The person whose name begins with M? Maybe M wanted the gold medallion back, the one that Jack had found in the dinosaur adventure. Maybe M wanted the leather bookmark back, the one from the castle book. There was an M on the medallion and an M on the bookmark, but what did the M stand for? Tomorrow I'll bring everything back, Jack said loudly. The breeze swept through the woods. The leaves rattled. Come on, said Annie. Jack went back to the big oak tree. He grabbed onto the rope ladder and climbed up. At the top, he crawled through a hole in the wooden floor. He tossed down his backpack and pushed his glasses into place. Which book is it going to be today? Annie was looking at the books scattered around the treehouse. Annie picked up a book about castles. Hey, this isn't wet anymore, she said. Remember last week they dropped it in the water in the moat? Jack took the book from her. He was amazed. It looked fine. Yesterday it had gotten soaking in a castle moat. The castle book had taken Jack and Annie back to the time of the knights. Jack silently thanked the mysterious knight who had rescued them. Watch out, warned Annie. She waved a dinosaur book in Jack's face. Put that away, said Jack. The day before yesterday, the dinosaur book had taken them to the time of the dinosaurs. Jack silently thanked the pteranodon who had saved him from the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Annie put the dinosaur book back with the other books. Then she gasped, Wow, look at this! She held up a book about ancient Egypt. Jack caught his breath. He took the book from her. A green silk bookmark stuck out of it. Jack turned to the page with the bookmark. There was a picture of a pyramid. Going toward the pyramid was a long parade. 4 huge cows with horns were pulling a sled. On the sled was a long gold box. Many Egyptians were walking behind the sled. At the end of the parade was a sleek black cat. Let's go there, whispered Annie. Now. Wait, said Jack. He wanted to study the book a bit more. Pyramids, Jack. You love pyramids. It was true. Pyramids were high on his list of favorite things after the knights, but before dinosaurs, way before dinosaurs. He didn't have to worry about being eaten by a pyramid. Okay, he said, but hold the Pennsylvania book just in case we want to come back. Oh, wait, right here. Annie found the book with the picture of their hometown in it, Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. Then Jack pointed to the pyramid picture in the Egypt book. He cleared his throat and said, "I wish we could go to this place." Meow. What was that? Jack looked out the treehouse window. A black cat was perched on a branch right outside the window. The cat was staring at Jack and Annie. It was the strangest cat Jack had ever seen. It was very sleek and dark with bright yellow eyes and a wide gold collar. "It's the cat in the Egypt book," whispered Annie. Just then the wind started to blow. The leaves began to shake. "Here we go," cried Annie. The wind whistled louder. The leaves shook harder. Jack closed his eyes and the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster and faster. Suddenly everything was still. Absolutely still. Not a sound, not a whisper. Jack opened his eyes. His hot, bright sunlight nearly blinded him. Meow. Chapter 2. Oh man, mummies! Jack and Annie looked out the window. The treehouse was perched on the top of a palm tree. The treehouse stood with other palm trees, a patch of green surrounded by a sandy desert. Meow. Jack and Annie looked down. The black cat was sitting at the base of the tree. His yellow eyes were staring up at Jack and Annie. "Hi!" Annie shouted. "Shh!" said Jack. "Someone might hear you." "In the middle of the desert?" said Annie. The black cat stood and began walking around the tree. "Come back," Annie called. She leaned out the window to see where the cat was going. "Oh, wow," she said. "Jack, look!" Jack leaned forward and looked down. The cat was running away from the palm trees toward a giant pyramid in the desert. A parade was going toward the pyramid, the same parade as in the Egypt book. "It's a picture from the book," said Jack. "What are the people doing?" said Annie. Jack looked down at the Egypt book. He read the words under the picture. When a royal person died, a grand funeral procession took place. Family, servants, and mourners followed the coffin. The coffin was called a sarcophagus. It was pulled on a sled by 4 oxen. "It's an Egyptian funeral," said Jack. "The box is called a I forget it. Sarcophagus." He looked out the window again. Oxen, sled, Egyptians, black cat, all were moving in a slow, dreamy way. "I'd better make some notes about this," said Jack. He reached into his backpack and pulled out his notebook. Jack always kept notes. "Wait," said Jack, and he wrote, "Coffin called sarcophagus." "We better hurry," said Annie, "if we want to see the mummy." She started down the rope ladder. Jack looked up from his notebook. "Mummy?" "There's probably a mummy in that gold box," said Annie. "Remember? We're in ancient Egypt." Jack loved mummies. He put down his pencil. "Goodbye, Jack," said Annie. "Wait," said Jack. "Mummies," said Annie. "Oh, man," said Jack weakly. "Mummies." She sure knew how to get him. Jack shoved his notebook and the Egypt book into his pack. Then he started down the ladder. When he got down to the ground, he and Annie took off across the sand. But as they ran, a strange thing happened. The closer they got to the parade, the harder it was to see it. Suddenly, it was gone. The strange parade had disappeared, vanished. But the great stone pyramid was still there, towering above them. Panting, Jack looked around. "What happened? Where were the people, the ox, and the gold box, the cat?" "They're gone," said Annie. "Where did they go?" said Jack. "Maybe they were ghosts." "Don't be silly. There's no such thing as ghosts," said Jack. "It must have been a mirage." "A what?" "A mirage. It happens in the desert all the time," said Jack. "It looks like something's there, but it turns out to be the sunlight reflecting through the heat." "How could sunlight look like people, a mummy box, and a bunch of cows?" said Annie. Jack frowned. "Ghosts," she said. "No way," said Jack. "Look!" Annie pointed at the pyramid near the base. Oh, near the base was the sleek black cat. He was standing alone. He was staring up at Jack and Annie. "He's no mirage," said Annie. The cat started to slink away. He walked along the base of the pyramid and slid around a corner. "Where's he going?" "Let's find out." They dashed around the corner, just in time to see the cat disappear through a hole in the pyramid. Chapter 3. It's alive! "Where did he go?" said Jack. He and Annie peeked through a hole. They saw a long hallway. Burning torches lit the walls. Dark shadows loomed. "Let's go in," said Annie. "Wait," said Jack. He pulled out the Egypt book and turned to the section on pyramids. He read the caption out loud. Pyramids were sometimes called houses of the dead. They were nearly all solid stone except for the burial chambers deep inside. "Well, let's go there, to the burial chamber," said Annie. "I bet a mummy's there." Jack took a deep breath. Then he stepped out of the hot, bright sunlight into the cool, dark pyramid. The hallway was silent. Floor, ceiling, walls, everything was stone. The floor slanted up from where they stood. We have to go farther inside, said Annie. Right, said Jack. But stay close behind. Don't talk, don't... Just go, said Annie. She gave him a little push. Jack started up the slanting floor of the hallway. Where was the cat? The hallway went on and on. Wait, said Jack. I want to look at the book. He opened the Egypt book again. He held it below a torch in the wall. The book showed a picture of the inside of the pyramid. The burial chamber is in the middle of the pyramid. See, said Jack. He pointed to the picture. It seems to be straight ahead. Jack tucked the book under his arm. Then they headed deeper into the pyramid. Soon the floor became flat. The air felt different, musty and stale. Jack opened the book again. I think we're almost at the burial chamber. See the picture? The hallway slants up. It gets flat. Then you come to a chamber. See? Eee! A strange cry shot through the pyramid. Jack dropped the book. Out of the shadows flew a white figure. It swooshed toward them. A mummy! It's alive! Annie shouted. Chapter 4. Back from the dead. Jack pulled Annie down. The white figure moved swiftly past them, then disappeared into the shadows. A mummy, said Annie. Back from the dead? Forget it, said Jack. Mummies aren't alive. He picked up the Egypt book. What's this, said Annie. She lifted something off the floor. Look, the mummy dropped this thing. It was a gold stick about a foot long, and a dog's head was carved at one end. It looks like a scepter, said Jack. What's that? Said Annie. It's a thing kings and queens carry. It means they have power over the people. Come back, Mummy, Annie called. We found your scepter. Come back. We want to help you. Shh, said Jack. Are you nuts? But the mummy. That was no mummy, said Jack. It was a person, a real person. What kind of person would be inside a pyramid, said Annie. I don't know. Maybe the book can help us. He flipped through the book. At last he found a picture of a person in a pyramid, and he read, Tomb robbers often carried off the treasure buried with mummies. False passages were sometimes built to stop the robbers. So that means that there were robbers that would come to a pyramid to go to where the people were buried and steal the stuff that was buried with them. Jack looked closely at the book. No live mummy, he said, just a tomb robber. Yikes! A tomb robber, said Annie. Yeah, a robber who steals stuff from the tombs. But what if the robber comes back? We better leave. Right, said Jack, but first I want to write something down. He put the Egypt book back into his pack. He pulled his notebook and pencil out, and he wrote in his notebook, Tomb robber. Jack, said Annie. Just a second. Tomb robber tried to steal. Jack, look! Jack felt a whoosh of cold air. He looked up. A wave of terror went through him. Another figure was moving slowly toward them. It was not a tomb robber. No, it was a lady, a beautiful Egyptian lady. She wore flowers in her black hair. Her long white dress had many tiny pleats. Her gold jewelry glittered. Here, Jack, Annie whispered. Give her this. She handed him the gold scepter. The lady stepped in front of him, stepped in front of them. Jack held out the scepter. His hand was trembling. He gasped. The scepter passed right through the lady, right through her hand, like she was made of air. Okay, if some of you are freaked out, don't worry. She's cool. This lady we're talking about here, she's good. We're good, all right? Chapter 5, The Ghost Queen. Still all right. She's cool. A ghost, Annie whispered. But Jack could only stare in horror. The ghost began to speak. She spoke in a very hollow, echoing voice. I am Hutepi, she said, Queen of the Nile. Is it true that you have come to help me? Yes, said Annie. Jack still couldn't speak. For 1,000 years, said the Ghost Queen, I have waited for help. Jack's heart was pounding so hard he thought he might faint. Someone must find my Book of the Dead, she said. I need to go to the next life. Why do you need a Book of the Dead? Annie didn't sound scared at all. It will tell me the magic spells I need to get through to the underworld, the Ghost Queen said. The underworld, said Annie. Before I journey on to the next life, I must pass through the horrors of the underworld. What kinds of horrors, said Annie. Poisonous snakes, said the Ghost Queen. Lakes of fire, monsters. Oh, said Annie, stepping closer to Jack. My brother hid the book, so tomb robbers would not steal it, said the Ghost Queen. Then he carved this secret message on the walls telling me how to find it. She pointed to the wall. Jack was still in shock. He couldn't move. Where, said Annie? Here? She squinted at the wall. What do these tiny pictures mean? Alas, said the Ghost Queen, smiled sadly. My brother forgot my strange problem. I cannot see clearly that is close to my eyes. I have not been able to read his message for 1,000 years. Oh, that's not a strange problem, said Annie. Jack can't see anything either. That's why he wears his glasses. The Ghost Queen stared in wonder at Jack. Jack, lend her your glasses, said Annie. Jack took his glasses off his nose. He held them out to the Ghost Queen. She backed away. I fear I cannot wear your glasses. I am made of air. Oh, I forgot, said Annie. So I'm going to pause for a second and talk about what's going on. So I guess she's kind of like a ghost, right? This queen. She died thousands of years ago, and she's going on to the next life, but she needs a special book to help her do that. Otherwise, she's stuck where she is in the pyramid, and she can't find the book because she can't read the message her brother wrote on the wall. And so this is what they're looking at. This is a secret message, and Jack and Annie don't even know what that is. So they're going to try to figure it out. Perhaps you will describe the hieroglyphics on the wall, said the Ghost Queen. Hiero, who? Said Annie. Hieroglyphics, said Jack, finally finding his voice. It's the ancient Egyptian way of writing. It's like writing with pictures. The Ghost Queen smiled at him. Thank you, Jack. Jack smiled back at her. He put his glasses on, then he stepped toward the wall and took a good look. Oh, man, he whispered. Chapter 6. The writing on the wall. Annie and Jack squinted at the pyramid wall. A series of tiny pictures were carved into the stone. There are 4 pictures here, Jack told the Ghost Queen. Describe them to me, Jack. One at a time, please. Jack studied the first picture. Okay, the first one is like this. And he made a zigzag in the air with his fingers. Like stairs? Asked the Ghost Queen. Yeah, stairs, said Jack, just like stairs. She nodded. Easy enough. Jack looked at the second picture. The second one is a long box in the bottom, and he drew it in the air. With 3 things on top, like this, said Annie. The Ghost Queen still seemed puzzled. Like a hat, said Jack. Hat? Said the Ghost Queen. No, more like a boat, said Annie. Boat? Said the Ghost Queen. She got excited. Boat? Jack took another look at the wall. Yeah, I guess it could be a boat. The Ghost Queen looked happy. She smiled. Yes, of course. Jack and Annie studied the next picture. The third one is kind of like the thing that holds flowers, said Annie. Or a thing that holds water, said Jack. Like a jug, said the Ghost Queen. Exactly, said Jack. Yeah, a jug, said Annie. Jack and Annie studied the last picture. Now, you and I might call that a candy cane. And the last one looks like a pole that droops, said Annie. Like a curved stick, said Jack, but one side is shorter than the other. The Ghost Queen looked puzzled. Wait, said Jack. I'll draw you it in my notebook big so you can see it. Jack put down the scepter and got out his pencil. He drew the hieroglyphic. A folded cloth, said the Ghost Queen. Well, not really, said Jack. He studied his drawing. But that is the hieroglyphic for a folded cloth, said the Ghost Queen. Well, okay, said Jack. He looked at the 4th hieroglyphic again. He still couldn't see the folded cloth unless it was like a towel hanging over a bathroom rod. So that's all of them, said Annie. She pointed to each picture. Stairs, boat, jug, folded cloth. Jack wrote the words in his notebook. So what does the message mean? He asked the Ghost Queen. Come, she said. She held out her hand. Come to my burial chambers. And she floated away. Chapter 7. The Scroll. Jack put the scepter in his notebook and pencil into his pack. He and Annie followed the Ghost Queen deeper into the pyramid until they came to some stairs. The stairs, said Jack and Annie. The Ghost Queen floated up the stairs. Jack and Annie followed. The Ghost Queen floated right through a wooden door. Jack and Annie pushed the door. It opened slowly. They stepped into a cold, drafty room. The Ghost Queen was nowhere in sight. Dim torchlight lit the huge room. It had a very high ceiling. On one side was a pile of tables, chairs, and musical instruments. On the other side of the room was a small boat. The boat, said Jack. What is it doing inside of Queen Hotep's pyramid, said Annie. Maybe it's supposed to carry her to the next life, said Jack. He and Annie went over to the boat. They looked inside. The boat was filled with many things. Gold plates, painted cups, jewelry goblets, woven baskets, jewelry with blue stones, small wooden statues. Look, said Jack. He reached into the boat and lifted out a clay jug. The jug! Jack looked inside the jug. Something's in here. What is it? Jack felt down inside the jug. It feels like a big napkin. The folded cloth, said Annie. Jack reached into the jug and pulled out the folded cloth. It was wrapped around an ancient-looking scroll. Jack slowly unrolled the scroll. It was covered with wonderful hieroglyphics. It's the Book of the Dead, whispered Annie. We found it. We found her book. Oh, man. Jack traced his finger over the scroll. It felt like very old paper. Queen Hutapi, Annie called. We have it. We found your book. Silence. Queen Hutapi? There's a picture. There's a lot going on in this picture. So here they are. There's a jug. He has a scroll in his hand. And here's all of that other treasure. So you can see why robbers might want to come over to that place and try to take some stuff. So they're looking for Queen Hutapi. Then another door on the other side of the chamber creaked open. In there, said Annie. Maybe she's in there. Jack's heart was pounding. Cold air was coming through the open doorway. Come on. Wait. No, said Annie. She's waited 1,000 years for her book. Don't make her wait any longer. Jack put the ancient scroll into his backpack. Then he and Annie slowly started to cross the drafty room. They came to the open door. Annie went through first. Hurry, Jack. Jack stepped into the other room. It was nearly bare, almost empty, except for a long gold box. The box was open. The cover was on the floor. Queen Hutapi? Silence. We found it, said Annie. Your Book of the Dead. There was still no sign of the Ghost Queen. The gold box glowed. Jack could barely breathe. Let's leave the scroll on the floor and go. No, I think we should leave it in there, said Annie, and she pointed to the gold box. No. Don't be afraid, said Annie. Come on. Annie took Jack by the arm. They walked together across the room to the glowing golden box. They stepped in front of the box, and they peeked inside. Chapter 8. The Mummy. A real mummy. Bandages were still wrapped around the bald skull, but most of the bandages had come off its face. It was Hutapi, the Queen of the Nile. So I'm going to show you this front cover. This probably is what I'm talking about, what I'm reading right now. Her teeth were still showing, her little wrinkled ears, her squashed nose, the bandages on her body were coming off, and you could start to see some bones. Ew, gross, said Annie. Let's go. No, said Jack. It's interesting. Forget it, said Annie, and she started out of the room. Wait, Annie. Come on, Jack, hurry, said Annie, and she was standing by the door. So I wonder which way you would react. If you would see that mummy and you would act like Annie and say, ew, gross. Or if you would think about it like Jack and say, no, this is interesting. I don't know. I think I would feel like Jack. I would be interested, but you might feel a different way. Jack pulled out the Egypt book and flipped to a picture of a mummy, and he read out loud. Ancient Egyptians tried to protect the body so it would last forever. First, it was dried up. Oh, stop, said Annie. Listen, said Jack, and he kept reading. Then it was covered in oil, and it was wrapped tightly with bandages. Stop, said Annie. Goodbye. She dashed out the room. Annie, we have to give her the Book of the Dead, said Jack, but Annie was gone. Jack reached into his pack. He pulled out the scroll and the scepter. He put them next to the mummy's skull. So here's a picture. Was it his imagination? Or did a deep sigh seem to go through the room? Did the mummy's face grow calmer? Jack held his breath as he backed away out of the mummy's room, out of the boat room, down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs, he heaved his own sigh, a sigh of relief. He looked down the hallway. It was empty. Hey, where are you? No answer. Where in the world was Annie? Jack started down the hallway. Annie! Had she run out of the pyramid? Was she already outside? Annie! Help, Jack! Came a cry. The voice sounded far away. It was Annie. Where was she? Help, Jack! Annie! Jack started to run. So, along the shadowy hallway, but then Annie's voice seemed to get fainter. Jack stopped. He was running away from her voice. Annie! He went back to the burial chambers. Jack! There, her voice is getting louder. Even louder, Jack climbed the stairs. He went back to the boat room. He looked around the room at the furniture, the musical instruments, the boat. Then he saw it. Another door. Right next to the door he had just come through. The door was open. Jack dashed through it. He found himself at the top of some stairs. They were the same stairs, just like in the other hallway. He went down the hallway. It was just like it, the other one, lit by torches on the wall and everything. Annie! Jack! There was Annie, running through the hallway towards him, and she crashed. I was lost, she cried. I think this is one of those false passages to fool the tomb raiders. A false passage? Yeah, it looks just like the right hallway, said Jack. We have to go back to the boat room and right out the door, and out the right door. Just then they heard a creaking noise. Jack and Annie turned around. They looked up the stairs. Then they watched in horror as the door slowly creaked shut. A deep sound rumbled in the distance, and all the torchlights went out. So, I don't know if you caught that, but remember how that there were robbers who would go into the tombs and try to take the treasure, from the people who had died. So what the Egyptians did is they made fake hallways that looked just like real hallways that would lead to nowhere. So then the robbers would go into those fake hallways instead of the real ones and get lost and end up not stealing anything. Chapter 9, Follow the Leader. It was pitch dark. What happened? I don't know, something weird, said Jack. We have to get out of here fast. Push against the door. Good idea, said Annie. They felt their way through the darkness. They were feeling to the top of the stairs. Don't worry, everything's gonna be okay, said Jack. He was trying to stay calm. Of course, said Annie. They leaned against the wood door and pushed. It wouldn't budge. They pushed harder. No use. Jack took a deep breath. It was getting harder to breathe and harder to stay calm. What do we do? Just rest a moment, said Jack. His heart was pounding as he tried to see through the darkness. Maybe we should start down the hall. Maybe we'll eventually come to an exit? Jack wasn't sure about that, but they had no choice. Come on, feel the wall. Jack felt the stone wall as he climbed slowly down the stairs, and he followed. Jack started down the long, dark hallway. It was impossible to see anything, but he kept going, taking one step at a time, moving his hands along the wall. He went around a corner. He went around another corner. He came to some stairs, and he went up. There was another door. He pushed it, and he pushed two. The door wouldn't budge either. Was this the same door they had started at? It was no use. They were trapped. Annie took his hand in the dark, and she squeezed it. They stood together at the top of the stairs, listening to the silence. Meow. Oh, man, Jack whispered. He's back, said Annie. Meow. Follow him, cried Jack. He's going away from us. They started down the long, dark hallway, following the cat's meow. Hands against the wall, Jack and Annie stumbled through the darkness. Meow. They found the sound all the way through the winding hallway, down, 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 around one corner, then another and another. Finally, they saw a light toward the end of the tunnel. They rushed forward, out into bright sunlight. Yay, said Annie. But Jack was thinking, Annie, how do we get out of that false passage? The cat, said Annie. But how could the cat do it? Magic, said Annie. Jack frowned. But look, and Annie pointed. The cat was bounding away over the sand. Thank you, Annie called. Thanks, Jack shouted at the cat. His black tail waved. Then he disappeared into the shimmering waves of heat. Jack looked toward the palm trees. At the top of one sat the treehouse like a bird's nest. Time to go home, said Jack. He and Annie set off for the palm trees. It was a long, hot walk back. At last, Annie grabbed the rope ladder, then Jack. Once they were inside the treehouse, Jack reached for the book about Pennsylvania. Just then, he heard a rumbling sound, the same sound they had heard in the pyramid. Look, said Annie, pointing out the window. Jack looked. A boat was beside the pyramid. It was gliding over the sand like a boat sailing over the sea. Then it faded away into the distance. Was it a mirage? Or was the Ghost Queen finally on her way to the next life? Home, Jack, whispered Annie. Jack opened the Pennsylvania book. He pointed to the picture of Frog Creek. I wish we could go home, he said. The wind began to blow. The leaves began to shake. The wind blew harder. It whistled louder. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely silent. Chapter 10, Another Clue. Late morning sunlight shone through the treehouse window. Shadows danced on the walls and ceiling. Jack took a deep breath. He was lying on the floor of the treehouse. I wonder what Mom's making for lunch, said Annie. She was looking out the window. Jack smiled. Lunch. Mom. Home. It all sounded so real, so calm, and so safe. I hope it's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, he said. He closed his eyes. The wood floor felt cool. Boy, this place is a mess, said Annie. You better make it neater in case Em comes back. Jack had almost forgotten about Em. Would they ever meet the mysterious Em, the person who seemed to own all the books in the treehouse? Let's put the Egypt book in the bottom of the pile, said Annie. Oh, good idea, said Jack. He needed a rest before he visited any more ancient tombs. Let's put the dinosaur book on top of the Egypt book. Good. And a very long rest, said Jack before he visited another Tyrannosaurus Rex. The castle book can go on the very top of the pile, said Annie. Jack nodded and smiled. He liked thinking about the knight on the cover of the castle book. He felt as if the knight was his friend. Jack, said Annie, look. Jack opened his eyes. She was pointing at the wood floor. What is it? You have to see for yourself. Jack groaned as he got up. He stood next to Annie and looked at the floor. He didn't see anything. Turn your head a little, said Annie. Just right. Jack tipped his head to one side. Something was shining on the floor. He tipped his head a bit more. A letter came into focus. The letter M. It shimmered in the sunlight, and this proved that the treehouse belonged to M. Absolutely, for sure. No question, no doubt about it. Jack touched the M with his finger. His skin tingled. Just then the leaves began to tremble. The wind picked up. Let's go down, he said. Jack grabbed his backpack, and he and Annie climbed down the ladder. They stood on the ground below the treehouse. Jack heard a sound in the bushes. Who's there? He called. The woods grew still. I'm going to bring the medallion back tomorrow, Jack said. And the bookmark, both of them. Who are you talking to? Said Annie. I feel like M is nearby, Jack said. Annie's eyes grew wide. Should we look for him? But just then their mother's voice came from the distance. Jack, Annie. Jack and Annie looked around at the trees. Then they looked at each other. Tomorrow, they said together. And they took off running out of the woods. They ran down their street. They ran across their yard. They ran into their house. They ran into their kitchen. They ran right into their mom. She was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And that is the end of book number 3, Mummies in the Morning. So let's see. Does it tell me what book number 4 is? Let me look. Ooh. Next time we will read a book called Pirates Past Noon. Sounds exciting. So thanks for reading with me. I'll see you later. Bye.